So Sophie Cunningham, there has been some footage released, and the footage is actually kind of like mind-opening.
Even just within the 3 days, you see people are already starting to get a rhythm, getting a chemistry. We're already reading each other pretty well. Who likes to shoot behind the screen? Who likes to come off a screen? Who likes to pitch? You know what I mean?
Remember when Kennedy Carter body-checked Caitlin Clark during a fast break and the refs didn't even blink? That moment wasn't just dirty, it was symbolic. For months, Caitlin Clark, the most hyped rookie in WNBA history, was getting targeted, hit, and pushed around, and no one seemed to care. Opponents made a habit out of sending messages through physical play, cheap shots, hard screens, off-ball elbows, game after game, and through it all, Clark kept her head down, played through the pain, and never publicly complained. But something had to give. That era? It's over now, because Sophie Cunningham just arrived at Indiana Fever training camp, and she's not here to play nice.
Everyone in here is just full of great energy. We know where we want to be at the end of the season, and so I think people are just coming in with a great mindset every day, wanting to learn, wanting to be the best teammate possible. And when I tell you it's a good, fresh breath of air, it is. And so you guys will see it soon.
This veteran sharpshooter, who also happens to have a black belt in Taekwondo, made her intentions crystal clear from day one. Nobody touches her teammates without consequences. Not anymore.
People have had really good teams in the past and they just couldn't make it come together. And so for us, it's making sure we have that rhythm, we have that chemistry, that we're keeping our locker room as tight as it can be and letting all the outside noise kind of do their thing, but making sure we're good as a whole.
Her message was loud, clear, and aimed straight at every bully who thought Clark would stay an easy target. And let's just say, the entire league is paying attention. In this video, we're breaking down Sophie's arrival, her camp performance, and how the Indiana Fever just found their enforcer. Caitlin Clark entered the WNBA with more hype than any player in league history. She was the talk of every sports show, the highlight of every feed, and the face of a new generation of women's basketball. But the excitement didn't last long. Instead of being welcomed as a generational talent, she was met with elbows, hard fouls, and a shocking lack of protection. And the numbers backed it up. 17% of all flagrant fouls in the WNBA last season were committed against Caitlin Clark. 17%. One rookie, taking nearly 1/5 of the league's most dangerous hits. And it wasn't just the fouls, it was the silence. Refs swallowed their whistles. Opponents pushed harder. Physicality crossed the line into aggression. And suddenly, Clark wasn't just the most watched player. She was the most targeted. Game after game, fans, analysts, and even former players started asking the same question. Where's the help? And now, finally, the Fever have answered. What started as tough defense quickly turned into something else. Caitlin Clark wasn't just being played physically. She was being targeted. From the moment she stepped onto a court, she became a magnet for hard screens, elbows to the ribs, late contact after the whistle, and even cheap shots during fast breaks. At first, some called it rookie treatment, a welcome to the pros. But this wasn't normal. This was calculated. Every game, the hits kept coming. One of the most blatant moments? That viral clip of Kennedy Carter shoving Clark mid-transition. No ball in sight, no attempt to play defense, just a shoulder to the chest, and no foul called. That clip didn't just go viral. It sparked a firestorm. Fans were outraged. Analysts were speechless. But perhaps the most telling part? Clark never reacted. No retaliation, no post-game complaints, just silence and a slow jog back down the court. And it wasn't just Carter. Angel Reese turned her physical play into a personal rivalry, using relentless pressure and trash talk to throw Clark off rhythm. Every hard foul felt intentional. Every shove sent a message. You don't belong here, not without a fight. Meanwhile, officials looked the other way. Over and over again, plays that would have drawn immediate whistles for other stars were ignored. Clark was expected to take the hits, stay quiet, and keep playing, but the impact was undeniable. Her shot selection changed, her movement slowed, and her body language, usually sharp and confident, began to show signs of wear. Not fear, not frustration, just fatigue. The kind that builds when you're fighting through contact every single night and nobody's backing you up. Through it all, Clark maintained professionalism far beyond her years. She never lashed out. She never pointed fingers. She played through it with poise. But the question on everyone's mind remained, how long could she take this? And more importantly, who was going to stop it? That's when the Fever front office made a decision. Enough was enough. The Indiana Fever were watching. And they weren't watching as fans. They were watching as a franchise that had just invested in a once-in-a-generation player. The face of their rebuild, the future of their team, and arguably, the future of the league. And night after night, they watched her get knocked down, bumped, targeted, punished. but they also saw something else. They saw her get back up, every single time. Still, even the toughest players have limits. And if the league wasn't going to protect Caitlin Clark, then the Fever would. That's when things shifted. In the offseason, Indiana didn't just go after talent, they went after toughness. They didn't just want scorers, they wanted enforcers, veterans with edge, players who know what it means to protect a teammate and set a tone. This wasn't about tweaking a roster, it was about building a wall. Because here's the thing, when you have a player like Caitlin Clark, someone who draws double teams, sells out arenas, and plays the game at a historic level, you don't leave her exposed. You surround her, you shield her, you send a message to the rest of the league. If you come at her, you're going through us. This wasn't just smart team building. It was a statement, a direct response to everything that happened in her rookie season. And right at the center of that response was one name, Sophie Cunningham. She wasn't brought in to be a role player. She wasn't signed to fill a roster spot. She was brought in for one reason, to make sure no one gets away with targeting Caitlin Clark again. Enter Sophie Cunningham. If you've watched the WNBA over the past few seasons, you know her name. And if you've played against her, you definitely know her game. Sophie isn't just another veteran. She's a 6.1 sharpshooter with a career three-point percentage hovering around 38%. That's elite. But her stats don't tell the full story. What sets Sophie apart isn't just her jumper. It's her mindset. She's fiery. She's fearless. And oh yeah, she has a black belt in Taekwondo. Not metaphorically, literally. That's not someone you want to run into on a hard screen. When the Fever brought her in, they weren't just signing a wing player, they were making a strategic move. Because Cunningham brings something this team desperately needed, a no-nonsense enforcer who can hit back when things get dirty. And she made her role crystal clear the moment she arrived. During her first media session, she didn't go with the usual PR lines. No vague talk about new beginnings or excited to contribute. Instead, she looked the media dead in the eye and said, "I'm here to make sure nobody takes cheap shots at our players. That stops now." 6 words. That's all it took to light up social media and send a message across the league. This wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about drama. It was about accountability, about drawing a line in the sand and saying, you don't get to push around our star without a response. And the best part? Sophie backs it up. She's not just tough, she's skilled. She spaces the floor with her shooting. She defends like it's personal. And she brings an intensity that spreads through the locker room like wildfire. On a team with rising stars and young legs, Sophie brings grit, veteran toughness, championship energy. The kind of player every great team needs, but only a few actually have. Sophie Cunningham might have the reputation of a brawler, but if you think she's just muscle, you're missing the point. What really makes Sophie dangerous isn't just her willingness to stand up for her teammates, it's how smart she plays the game. She's a communicator, a floor general without the ball. In practice, you can hear her before you even see her, calling out screens, directing rotations, pointing teammates into better position. She's constantly scanning, constantly adjusting, constantly thinking. 2 steps ahead. That's not just defense, that's leadership. While most players react to the game, Sophie orchestrates it. On the defensive end, she functions like a second coach on the floor, recognizing offensive patterns, shutting down angles, and warning teammates before threats even appear. This is where her value multiplies. Because for a player like Caitlin Clark, who's constantly drawing pressure and navigating traps, having someone like Sophie next to her is like installing a radar system. She doesn't just clear the space physically, she clears it mentally. She removes the noise, the doubt, the distractions. It's no accident that during training camp, players were describing her presence as calming and commanding at the same time. She's vocal, but not overbearing. She holds teammates accountable, but she builds them up just as quickly. And it's not all talk. She leads with action. In drills, she's diving for loose balls, fighting through fatigue, and making sure nobody coasts through a single possession. That energy? It's contagious. The younger players are picking up on it. The coaching staff is building around it. And let's not forget, this is a player who's shared the court with legends. Diana Taurasi, Brittany Griner, veterans who've played under the spotlight and demanded excellence. Sophie's learned from the best. And now she's bringing that standard to Indiana. So yes, she'll throw an elbow if someone comes after her teammates. But more importantly, she'll prepare the team so they're never caught off guard in the first place. Because protection doesn't always come with a shove. Sometimes it comes with a voice, a presence, and a vision of where the ball and the threat is headed next. What makes this story even more compelling isn't just what Sophie Cunningham brings to the team, it's how quickly she's connected with Caitlin Clark. Because on and off the court, these two are already forming something rare, real chemistry. In interviews, it's obvious. The way they talk about each other, laugh together, and bounce energy back and forth, it's not forced. It's not manufactured for media clips. It's authentic. They're teammates. But more than that, they're beginning to act like longtime friends. And when that bond carries over to the court, everything changes. You can see it in practice footage. Between drills, they're huddled up, talking strategy, pointing out adjustments, figuring out spacing. During scrimmages, Cunningham's voice is constantly guiding the action, but she's also listening, reading Clark's instincts, matching her pace. This isn't just veterans mentoring rookies. It's mutual respect being built in real time. And for Caitlin, who's coming off a season where she often looked isolated, fighting through double teams while teammates struggled to keep up, this kind of partnership is gold. Now, instead of worrying about who's got her back, she knows Sophie's there, and the trust is already paying off. Clark can push harder on offense, knowing Cunningham will space the floor and talk through every defensive rotation. She can play with more freedom, knowing Sophie's reading the court with her. She doesn't have to do it all alone anymore, and the internet has noticed. Clips of the two cracking jokes, dancing during water breaks, or firing laser passes to each other mid-scrimmage are already going viral. Fans are calling them the duo. You'd get separated in class for talking too much. But on the court, that connection is lethal, because when two players trust each other that deeply, communication becomes effortless. A glance, a nod, a subtle hand signal, that's all it takes. And when the pressure's on in the fourth quarter, that kind of sync wins games. This isn't just a vibe, it's a foundation, one that could change everything for the Fever. Sophie Cunningham isn't just a shooter, she's not just a defender, and she's not just the enforcer, she's all of it, and more. One of the most underrated aspects of Sophie's game is her positional versatility. She's the kind of player who can slide seamlessly between the 1, the 2, the 3, and even the 4 if needed. That means she can run the offense, space, the floor, crash the glass, or lock down the wing, depending on what the game calls for. And for the Indiana Fever, that kind of flexibility is a tactical weapon. During training camp, coaches were already experimenting. Sophie bringing the ball up as a point forward, running sets at the 2, posting mismatches at the 3. She's not just filling gaps. She's creating matchup nightmares. Need someone to guard a bigger wing? Sophie's got the size and strength. Need someone to switch on a guard after a screen? She's quick enough laterally. Need a shooter to punish help defense off Caitlin's drive? Sophie's spotting up at the arc, waiting to burn you. And this versatility doesn't just help her, it helps Caitlin Clark too. By shifting Sophie across multiple roles, defenses can't load up on Clark the way they used to. If they overcommit to shutting Caitlin down, Sophie stretches the defense wide open. If they switch off her, she'll bury threes in rhythm or drive straight through the lane. It creates a situation where the opposing coach is stuck making choices they don't want to make. Do you double Caitlin and leave Sophie open? Do you stick a bigger defender on Sophie and risk her pulling them out to the perimeter? Do you switch everything and pray their communication holds? Either way, it's pressure, and pressure bursts defenses. Even more importantly, her ability to play multiple positions gives the Fever lineup fluidity. It lets them go big or small, fast or physical without losing identity. And in the WNBA, where roster flexibility can be the difference between contending and collapsing, that matters more than ever. This isn't just about having a tough vet on the team. It's about having a chess piece, someone who makes your entire playbook deeper, faster, and harder to defend. Sophie isn't just a player, she's a problem. And the Fever are starting to realize that's exactly what they need. Something is shifting inside the Indiana Fever, and it goes beyond stats, lineups, or highlight plays. It's culture. The moment Sophie Cunningham walked into training camp and declared that cheap shots were over, something clicked. And it wasn't just about Caitlin Clark, it was about everyone. It was about building a team where every player feels protected, every player feels valued, every player knows that someone has their back. And that mindset, it's spreading, because when you see a veteran like Sophie diving for loose balls, barking out defensive rotations, and standing up for her teammates without hesitation, you start doing it too. That energy becomes contagious. It sets a tone. Suddenly, you've got Natasha Howard stepping up with that same presence, a 3-time champion with Defensive Player of the Year credentials who brings her own kind of toughness and no-nonsense leadership. She's not here for rebuilding. She's here to win. And she's expecting everyone else to play like it. You've got Brianna Turner locking down the paint like it's personal. Dana Bonner mentoring young players and making veteran reads that stabilize everything around her. The Fever didn't just build a team, they built a core of accountability. And here's what makes it dangerous. This isn't a one-player mission anymore. It's no longer just about Sophie standing up for Caitlin. It's about an entire locker room that refuses to let any teammate get isolated, pushed around, or disrespected. This team has adopted a code. You go after one of us, you go after all of us. And when that kind of trust takes root, it shows. In practice, players are louder, communication is sharper, effort is higher, mistakes still happen, but instead of finger pointing, there's feedback, fixes, support. It's not about ego. It's about the collective, and that's the most dangerous kind of team. One that plays for each other, fights for each other, and refuses to let outside noise shake what they're building inside. The Indiana Fever aren't just tougher this year, they're together. And for the rest of the league, that should be terrifying. What the Indiana Fever are building right now, it's bigger than one off-season. It's bigger than any single signing. This is a message to the entire WNBA. Things have changed. The days of targeting Caitlin Clark without consequence, gone. The era of knocking her down and watching her teammates hesitate to respond, over. That chapter closed the moment Sophie Cunningham walked through the doors and said, "Not on my watch," because the Fever aren't just tougher, they're smarter, deeper, and more unified than ever before. And that changes everything. It changes how defenses prepare. It changes how officials call the game. It even changes how teams think about physicality. Because now, if you want to test Caitlin, you have to go through a wall of veterans who are ready, willing, and proud to push back. But this isn't just about defense. It's not just about protection. It's about freedom. With Sophie Cunningham helping anchor this group, Caitlin Clark can finally play her game. Fast, fearless, and creative. She doesn't have to look over her shoulder every time she runs off a screen. She doesn't have to second-guess every drive into traffic. She can be her full self, and that's when she's most dangerous. And here's the thing about superstars. When they feel protected, when they feel supported, when they feel free, they take over. So now, the Fever aren't just trying to compete. They're not just trying to develop. They're coming for everything. Playoffs, respect, a shot at something even bigger down the line. Because this isn't just a team with talent. It's a team with identity, with edge, with fire. And it all started the moment they decided enough was enough. So if you're still thinking of Indiana as a rebuilding squad, think again. What we're witnessing isn't just a roster upgrade, it's a transformation. The Indiana Fever didn't just add players this offseason, they built a new identity. One rooted in toughness, trust, and a no-excuses culture that demands accountability from the first whistle to the final buzzer. Caitlin Clark finally has the freedom to lead, and now she's got the protection to thrive. Sophie Cunningham isn't just the bodyguard. She's the tone setter, the energy source, the one who speaks up, stands up, and backs it all up with action. And together, they're not just forming a duo, they're reshaping what the WNBA looks like when skill meets grit. This is more than just about one season. It's the beginning of something special. If you're fired up for this new Fever squad, drop a CC plus Sophie in the comments. Hit that like button, and make sure you're subscribed with notifications on, because we'll be tracking every step of this new era as it unfolds. And trust me, you're not going to want to miss what's coming next.